بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. طه ما أنزلنا عليك القرآن لتشقى إلا تذكرة لمن يخشى تنزيلا ممن خلق الأرض والسماوات العلى الرحمن على العرش استوى له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وما بينهما وما تحت الثرى بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. طه ما أنزلنا عليك القرآن لتشقى إلا تذكرة لمن يخشى تنزيلا ممن خلق الأرض والسماوات العلى الرحمن على العرش استوى له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وما بينهما وما تحت الثرى بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. صدق الله العلي العظيم. أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقي وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها، ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله، إني سلمان لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبة، ولعن الله ابن مرجان، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمرا، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك. بأبي أنت وأمي لقد عظم مصابي بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانه وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم، وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. إني سلمان لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة، وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة. وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله، وأن يرزقني طلب ثاري مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم. وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته، مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد، ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد، اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية، عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيه عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني وابدأ به أولا، ثم لعن الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا، ولعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجانة وعمر بن سعد وشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة سجود. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم، الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مواجههم دون الحسين عليه السلام. صلوات.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخالق الأجمعين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وخاتم النبيين حبيبنا وحبيب إليه العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى طيبين الطاهرين المعصومين ولا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى يوم الدين. Assalamu alaikum to all the brothers and sisters. May Allah Azza wa Jal and Imam Zaman alayhi salam have accepted your mourning for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And may these majalis be the coming of the Imam of our time, and may it be a stepping stone to changing ourselves for the better, inshallah. Before we start the main part of the lecture, which is a continuation from the lectures before, the sayings and the words of wisdom of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein from Medina to Karbala, we want to mention that in these majalis, this majalis has ta'alluq to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. What does ta'alluq mean? As in, it is for the Imam. This majlis, it belongs to the Imam. And this belonging to the Imam is extremely important. We want to give you a few examples of what it means to something to belong, to have ta'alluq to a ma'soom alayhi salam. What does that actually mean? This will bring about the importance of the majalis of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein as well, from a different angle. We've mentioned before, but this is a complete different angle as well. More, you could say, a more fundamental reason, a more in-depth reason for why these majalis are very important. So the short answer is because it belongs to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. But what does it actually mean that it belongs to Imam Hussein alayhi salam? What does that actually mean? And why is that important? Brothers and sisters, we see that when we want to get shafa'at from an Imam, or be in the be in the rahmat, be in a situation where our wishes and our wants and our dua is accepted, we go to the Imams where that place belongs to them. The shrines, for example. We go to the shrines of the Imams, whether it be Imam Rida alayhi salam, whether it be Imam Hussein alayhi salam, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawat Allah. We go to these places because it is a part of them. Their belongings are extension of them. They have attention to those places. See, our bodies, we are so connected with our bodies that is true that after we die, we leave our bodies. However, it's true, our souls leave our bodies and we're for another realm, and this realm is a materialistic realm. This is all true. However, our attention to our body doesn't go away. We still have a certain attention to that body because we've been with it for so long. That attention, you could say, or that connection, you could say, the connection we're talking about, it's called ta'alluq. This connection we have with this body. Now, this connection to the body and this connection and attention to the body is an extension of us. And the Imams are the same. The body that they've prayed thousands and thousands of rakat of salat and they've read Quran with, and with this bodies that they have reached these high ranks, even the prophets, they have a certain connection and attention to that body, and that's why it's important. See, with this thing that we're saying, we're trying to understand this importance and also answer so many other questions that are connected to this. So this ideology that is Sheikh to go to people's graves, and this all goes away. When we go to a person's grave or the Imam's graves and we go to the shrines. It's not as if we see this grave or this person as something other than Allah Azza wa Jal. As in, this person has a power, and this is something else to Allah. Of course we don't believe this. It's ridiculous to believe this. Even Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, without Allah Azza wa Jal, he would be nothing. We can say this, of course. Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, Imam Ali alayhi salam, the Prophet, is a famous saying that when a young man came to the Prophet and said, the Prophet went to the young man and said, who do you love more? Do you love yourself more, or do you love me more? And the young man said to the Prophet, I love you more. And the Prophet looked at the young man again and said, who do you love more? Your parents, or do you love me more? And the young man said, of course you, I love you more. And the Prophet asked the young man again, who do you love me more? Do you love Allah more, or do you love me more? And the young man answered, I love you because I love Allah. And the Prophet said, Ahsan, Ahsan, that's the answer I wanted. Well done. So the reason we love the Ma'sumin, the reason we love the Prophet is because they are in the peak. They're on the peak of reaching Allah Azza wa Jal. Because Allah Azza wa Jal loves them more than any other creation in the universe, in the cosmos. This is why we love them so much. Because they're dear to Allah. And they're extremely dear to Allah. And we have proof of this in abundance. Look at Hadith al-Kasa, look at the Quran, many verses. So this is the reason they're extremely important for us. So going to these people's graves, these prophets or imams, or even maybe imamzades, even maybe ulama, there's nothing wrong with that. It's because they have gone these ranks, because they have become aziz, they've become dear to Allah Azza wa Jal, they have importance. Now when the person has importance, you go to their grave. Why? Because of that connection. Because of that attention they have to their own body. If we call Abu Abdullah al-Hussein from our house, of course he can hear. If we call, for example, Imam Zaman alayhi salam from our house, of course he will hear. There's no doubt about it. However, the attention over there, it's a different environment altogether. The attention to us, even ourselves over there, are a bit different. The way we do dua, the way we do namaz, the way we read the Quran, because of that space, of that makan. And now I want to give a few examples that not only do these Ma'sumin alayhi salam have vilayat, but their items and their belongings, which of course their body is a part of this, has vilayat as well. It's very important. Something that neither Sunni or Shia can say it's not true. It's a fact for both of us. Example number 1. Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, when he wanted to cure the eyes of his father Hazrat Yaqub alayhi salam, what did he do? He sent with his brother Lavi the piece of clothing that was his, that was gifted from Hazrat Ibrahim to his son and so on to Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam. Hazrat Yusuf sent his clothing, his qaba or aba or whatever it was. He sent this so that Hazrat Yaqub will put this on his eyes and his eyes will become shafa. Even the items that were belongings of the people that have reached higher ranks, that are nabis, that are imams, they give shafa. That's not shirk. That's fact. This is why the turbat of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein is very important. Even in their own books, even in the brothers of Al-Sunnat, in their books, in Bukhari, there is hadith that have been said that the turbat of Sayyid al-Shuhada is one that the Prophet would even kiss. In that time, before Karbala even happened. It's extremely important. Another example which is quite famous, maybe some have heard of it, some have not, is a hadith of Hazrat al-Zahra alayhi salam. The BB of two worlds, and truly. At a time where Amir al-Mu'mineen they didn't have enough money for the family, and what Amir al-Mu'mineen did is he went and took a piece of clothing of Hazrat al-Zahra alayhi salam, a abba that she had, these things that they throw on their, not just a chador, but a abba that they throw over their shoulders. And he asked from Hazrat al-Zahra alayhi salam, may I go sell this so that we can have a little money and we can buy food and we can have food. And listen, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam had a lot of wealth, but because he would give so much of it away to orphans and so on and so forth, there would be nothing left. So, Hazrat Zahra alayhi salam, of course, being completely obedient to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, said, of course, there's no problem with this. Imam Ali alayhi salam took this piece of clothing and went to a Jewish family. This is a hadith. Went to a Jewish family and said, I will give this to you for the time being, give me the money if I can return it. So they made a deal that if I can return the money to you within whatever time, I'll take the clothing back. If I can't, then it's yours, for example. And this Jewish man accepted, and he went to his house and he gave the money and he went to his house and he put the piece of clothing in a wardrobe in one room of his house. When nighttime came, he saw a certain light coming from that room and an extremely good smell that wasn't from this world. And he was shocked and he woke up his wife and he said, what is this light coming from that room? They went and opened it and they saw there was in this wardrobe or wherever he'd put this piece of clothing. When it opened, he says, the light is coming from this. They were shocked. They were extremely shocked. So what is this light coming from this piece of clothing that I brought from Ali? They went and woke up every single other family that was within there, because they lived together in certain areas. In Medina, he went and woke up his wife went and woke up her own family, and he went and woke up his own family, and they went and a couple of other families came to see what has happened, that there was a light coming from this room, from this piece of clothing. It is narrated that, I can't remember exactly whether it was 70 households became Muslim in that one night, or it was 70 people. If I'm not mistaken, it's 70 families. 70 families became Muslim in that one night, from the piece of clothing of Bibi Zahra alayhi salam. Allah. Their piece of clothing has vilayat. Of course it has vilayat. Even the stick of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, it is said that it wasn't a normal stick. He got this stick. This stick used to belong to another Nabi. This hadith you can go see. Because his stick has vilayat. Now, does this mean that these powers are something else from Allah Azza wa Jal? Of course not. It's ridiculous to say so. All of these are from Allah Azza wa Jal. But does it mean it has no effect? If I have a paracetamol, let's say, does it have zero effect? And if I have this paracetamol, means I'm doing shirk? No, you have to sit down here and ask Allah Azza wa Jal so that He will, for example, take this pain away from you. You don't need painkillers. You don't need, for example, to go get antibiotics. You don't need to go have medicine. Allah will forgive you. Allah will make you better. It's ridiculous for us to even think such a thing. Of course, when we're sick, we will go to a doctor. When we need to have something, we'll go and have the medicine. Does that mean that they work without the permission and without the izn of Allah Azza wa Jal? Of course not. Of course not. The fire that was meant to burn Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, because it didn't have the izn, the permission of Allah Azza wa Jal, even though fire is supposed to burn, it did not burn. See? It was supposed to burn, but it did not burn. Because it didn't have permission from Allah Azza wa Jal. That's true. However, does that mean that this fire doesn't burn itself? Yes, it does. In most cases, 99.9% of the time, it does burn. In this one case, it didn't burn Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam. So, items, things in this world, of course, they themselves have a certain power that is from Allah Azza wa Jal. It's from Allah. The ma'asumeen, which are the sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal on earth, they are the Khalifa of Allah on earth and in the heavens and in all of creation. They have this vilayat, and even the items that belong to them have this vilayat. And I said all of this to say this majlis right now belongs to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Salawat. When we say this majlis belongs to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, it means that this majlis has the capability of doing shafa'at, has the capabilities to make our wishes come true, our du'as come true. That's why we pray for the coming of the Imam of our time in this majlis. That's why we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to forgive our sins in this majlis. This majlis belongs to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. His name is being mentioned here. A lecture is going on in his name. Masa'ib is being read in his name. Latmiyah is being done in his name. We gather here in his name. We eat together in his name. We pray together in his name. All of this means it belongs to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. It's not a small matter. Of course these majlis can. It belongs to Abu Abdullah. So this is the importance. Now to the main part, of course this took longer than expected this first section. However, again, going back to learning from Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, in his last moments from Medina to Karbala, and the things that he told his companions, we could have said many things here, brothers and sisters. Many things we can say inappropriate. But what better things to say than for Muharram and learning from Abu Abdullah al-Hussein than the words of himself, the things that he himself said in his last moments. What better thing? In his last moment, he's told his companions and in large the people that follow him how to reach Allah Azza wa Jal. What are the most important things that we should pay attention to, which we've mentioned in the nights before. The next one is the collision. This is the next one from the lectures before. Walaikum salam. The collision of being dunyavi, of being materialistic, being of this world, the collision, and being akhirati, being of the hereafter, being a person of the hereafter. And I'm trying to use my words very carefully, brothers and sisters, because when we say of the hereafter and of the dunya or of this world, materialistic world, I'm not trying to say putting it all away, putting all of dunya away. Or Imam is not trying to say that it's a splitting of two different ideologies, just this and just this. No. Being of the hereafter doesn't mean that I've cut off myself from the world, as we mentioned. Doesn't mean I've cut off myself from the dunya. We've said this in abundance. So what we are trying to say is being of the akhirat is a different explanation of it, which was given. However, here Abu Abdullah al-Hussein is trying to say that these two are collision, they collide with each other, they're not the same thing. When you move towards dunya, you're moving away from akhirat. It's as if you're going to the east, no matter how much you move towards the east, you're going more away from the west. You can't help it. It is how it is. It is so. Having this connection with dunya takes you away from the connection of akhirat. Again, I want to emphasize this as much as I can. It does not mean that we don't have dunya at all. It's the attention, it's the hope, it's the love, it's the connection. Even if I have something materialistic, I have it for the hereafter. I have it because of a reason. There is a reason behind it. Not just because. Not having the love for it. Because it will never stop, brothers and sisters. You have this car, you want the next model that comes in 2024. You have a BMW, you want a Mercedes. You have a Mercedes, you can have, I don't know, you want a Ferrari, you want a Bugatti, or whatever it may be. It will never stop. This urge, this wanting will never stop. And the true urge that we have within us, this is something Allah Azza wa Jal put within us to want the limitless. And unfortunately, we mistake this limitless thing that we're after, and we look for it in the materialistic world that is limited. It's limited. How are we going to, no matter what you do, it will become normal. This car, this house, this, for example, jewelry, this watch, this so on and so forth, this phone, it will become normal. You can remember when iPhone 12 came out, everything was, I can't remember which one it was that has the 3 cameras. It was the new thing, and now it's just normal. The next one's going to come out. That one might have 4 cameras, I don't know. The whole back of it will be a camera. Later on, you can go on your phone and you can fly, for example, I don't know. Technology is moving so fast. It will never stop. The things that once you were in awe when you saw them, now they're just very normal. And the new things will be the same. The only thing that is limitless is Allah Azza wa Jal. And that's why you see this sense of calm. You see this sense of having a relaxed mind with the awliya of Allah. You see this in Habib, that was yesterday his night. You see this in Abul Fadl al-Abbas. You see this even in some of the ulama. Ayatollah Bahjat is famous that he would say that I would rather be a vegetable seller in Qom than be the king of China. At that time, even now, the economic, for example, king of the world. I rather see, so he'd seen something. The place that he was in the holy city of Qom that he was, he'd seen something. He had reached a fulfillment that he couldn't have with money, with wealth, with this, and so on and so forth. Now again, it doesn't mean that we all go into Qom and we all live for example, and we have dry bread and have no other food. No, every person to their own level. It's very difficult for you to live like Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. Of course it's very difficult. It's narrated that when Hazrat Zainab alayhi salam would, on the last moments, would bring Imam Ali alayhi salam milk and salt, Amir al-Mu'mineen would say, when have you seen me have 2 different types of food? Milk and salt was for him 2 different types, 2 different stews that we put on rice. Say, when have you ever seen for me to have 2 different types? So she went to take the salt away, and Amir al-Mu'mineen said, no, take the milk away. I'll just have salt with bread. Stew, as in the thing that we put on bread or the thing we put on rice. He said, when have you ever seen me have 2? Now we have 100 with 100 different ingredients and 100 different things. Of course we cannot live like that. However, we can control it in our own lives. We can control it. Number one thing, the first thing we should be doing is, na'uzubillah, not have something that is haram, and pay attention to that. That's the bottom. The next one up is controlling what we eat. It's very important. Our bodies are a amanat. It's been given to us as just to use as a borrow. We're borrowing these bodies from Allah Azza wa Jal. Of course, we have to be careful what we put in our bodies. This is for the younger people. Stop having too much sweets or crisps or whatever. So of course we have to control ourselves. We have to the amount that is needed. Not to overexert it. Go too overboard with it. So having this love and this connection to the dunya will bring you away from the connection of the akhirat. This is a fact. And the more you go towards it, the less you pay attention to the hereafter. But you can even experience these yourself. The more you feel a connection spiritually with the Imams, or you feel more connected with Allah Azza wa Jal, you start to feel it's not as important. Materialistic things do not feel as important as they used to. I'm not yearning to have, I don't know, for example, this coat that is, for example, Barvary, or this certain belt that is from this brand, and so on and so forth. I'm not burning to have, for example, this new phone that came out. It's all I think about, and I go research 100 different phones into, this one has this spec, and that one has this spec, and this laptop is like this. See, all you are thinking about is that. You can't think about the akhirah. And the more you think about akhirah, these things become less important. We said yesterday, they become la'ibun wa lahbun. They become not as important. They become nothing. You're like, whoa, what is this? Is it going to last me 5 years, 10 years, even 20 years? What importance does that genuinely have? What am I after? A car is supposed to take me from point A to point B. Now if it has, I don't know, doors that open horizontally or vertically, or however they open, or if it's chrome or not chrome, or if it's 2023 or 2021, it doesn't make a difference. It'll take me from point A to point B. Of course, we should try to have the good things. We should work towards it. If we can afford it, you can buy it. There's nothing wrong with that. We're trying to keep the balance, but to yearn for it. Listen, we're trying to mention the yearning for it, the having attention to it 24/7. Even sometimes, some people might even sleep and dream of the car that they want, for example. I truly do know people that this has happened to. So, of course, if we have an exam, for example, the next day, all we're thinking about is this exam. All we can think about is getting this degree. See, I mentioned just, for example, materialistic things, but materialistic things can go even more. We can bring the boundaries even more. Even a degree. A degree is extremely good. It's extremely needed for my life. I need to excel with this degree. If I don't have this degree, I won't have this certain job. Without this job, I cannot provide for my family, so on and so forth. That's extremely good. If you have that attention to that, that's very good. And you're paying attention to this, it's very good. However, sometimes it's not for that. It's for the degree itself. It's for people to say to me, oh, okay, well done. You have a doctorate? You have a master's? MashaAllah, MashaAllah. From this university? Wow, that means you're looking for validation from people. This is materialistic. This is not anymore. This is not for Allah Azza wa Jal. This is not for your family. This is not for akhirat. This is for another thing. We have to be careful, see. And when you see that this becomes extremely important, you'll have 2 years of your A-levels just thinking about going to the certain uni. And then after your A-levels are done, you go to the uni, you are 3 years thinking about me getting that degree, or 4 years, or whatever it may be. And then your masters, you're thinking about getting that masters. And then doctors, you're thinking about, and before you know it, your age has gone up and up and up, and you're thinking, okay, well, I spent all this time thinking about my degrees. When did I stop and think about Allah Azza wa Jal and my hereafter? When did I have time to put aside for my hereafter? To work on myself, to bring my iman higher. I spent all that time thinking about these things. I spent all that time going to this apprenticeship and that workplace and getting this degree and getting that, for example, certificate. I spent all those times, but I didn't pay attention to the most important thing. I did all of these things so that I can have a comfortable living, so that I can do the hamd of Allah, praise Allah, to pray for Allah. But I've done everything apart from the main thing that I was supposed to do. I've forgotten why I came to this earth in the first place. And this is why it's important, brothers and sisters, to have a timetable, to plan out our lives, to plan out our days. Because before you know it, your time's gone and you see, I haven't done much. A week has gone by, a month has gone by, a year has gone by. Sometimes even in the materialistic world, in this dunya, I have not succeeded because I don't have a timetable. Of course it's true. That's true as well. If I don't have a correct timetable, I can't even organize my studies, my work life, my business, whatever it may be. Having a timetable is important for, it's managing your time, managing your day. So this is another important point, that no matter how much you go more towards dunya, and we're talking about the love for it, being of the dunya, it's different from using from the dunya. It's famous that Marhum Naraqi, my last point, we're going to go to the next point. It's famous that Marhum Naraqi, he's the alim that wrote the book of Mi'raj al-Sa'ada. Well, his son wrote the Mi'raj al-Sa'ada. He wrote the Arabic version, it was 3 volumes, and his son wrote a Farsi version in 1 volume. But it's famous that even Ayatollah Bahjat said, if you want to go in this path, read half a page of this book every day and act upon it, and you'll see in 1 year it is like medicine that you see within yourself that you've increased in terms of spirituality. It's an amazing book, Marhum Naraqi. It's mentioned that a dervish is a type of people in Iran, we call them, for example, in Pakistan we call them peers, as the things are peers. People that would sit down and do a lot of zikr and would be very spiritual, as they would say, not the right way of spirituality, but however, they sit in a corner, away from the masses, away from the people, in a corner just doing zikr and doing prayers and all these different things, and having nothing but one thing called a kashkul, a little bag that they have, and in this bag, everything they own, they want to have in this bag, and they have no other belongings, because they're trying to say that with this one belonging that I have, I'm trying to come away from the dunya. Because the less things you have, the less, of course, connection you have with the dunya. So all they have is in this one bag, because if they have something more, they'll feel that they have a connection to this dunya. So he found this dervish, found this book, and he read it, and he saw this book is extremely good for spirituality. Everything he was reading, he was completely taken away with this. And he said, I need to find the writer of this book. So he went and asked, and so on and so forth. He went from city to city, and he found Marhum Naraqi. He went to his house. As soon as he got to his house, he saw, wow, this is not what I thought. There was a lot of people coming and going. Trade was being done. People were selling carpets. His house was it looked like a mansion. People were selling carpets and spices from other places. People coming and going. And he asked around, where's Marhum Naraqi? And so on and so forth. He got to Marhum Naraqi and he saw him, and he said to Marhum Naraqi, I saw your book and I thought you would be a dervish, a arif, a person of spirituality. What is all this? Your house doesn't look like you're an arif. You're a man of spirituality. And Marhum Naraqi just smiled. He said, come with me, let's go. Pay attention to this story that is true. It's very important. He said, come with me, let's go outside of this house. And this person got up and he went with Marhum Naraqi. They went outside of his house, they went in the outskirts of the city, and as they were speaking, suddenly this dervish, this so-called spiritual person, found out that, wait, I left my little bag, my kashkul as they call it, I left it in his house. And he quickly turned to Marhum Naraqi and he said, let's go back. He said, why? What's wrong? Why are you so stressed out for? What's wrong? He said, I left my bag in your house. I need to go get it. All that I own is in that one bag. And Marhum Naraqi just smiled. He said, listen, see, this is the difference. All you own is one bag, but you're attached to it. As soon as you find out that you're about to lose it, you lost yourself. You forgot everything. In that moment, you weren't even thinking about Allah Azza wa Jal. However, me, I have all of those God-given gifts. It's from Allah. Allah has blessed me with a good house and all these different things. However, I have zero attachment to it. There's loads of people in my house. They could take my belongings. Again, it doesn't mean that we should leave our houses open. Get the concept is important. But I'm not worried about my wealth and about my things. See? I'm not worried about it. Because I know Allah Azza wa Jal gave it, He can take it away, and He can also give it again. I have no attachment to those materialistic things, even though I have a lot of it. Now in some cases, but see the Darvish, even though he had one bag, and all that he owned was in that one bag, he couldn't let it go. This is what's important. Letting go, ripping yourself from the dunya like this. It doesn't matter about having dunya or not having dunya. We have of ulama that have had things and have been very rich, and they've also been spiritual. And we have ulama that have been very poor and they've also been spiritual. We have Imam Ali alayhi salam that would would have only two clothes. When he would wash the other one, sometimes even it's narrated he had one clothing. When he would wash it, he would wear it wet because he had no other clothing, and he would wear very, very bad fabric, not expensive fabric. And they would ask the same thing from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. They would say, why are you, if your father Ali would wear such clothes, why are you wearing such clothes? And Imam Sadiq alayhi salam would say, at that time, the Muslims were a lot more poorer than now. And Amir al-Mu'mineen was the Khalifa of the time. He had to be of the lowest of the people. He would have to dress and eat as the poorest of the people in the community. I'm not Khalifa at the time. He's Imam of the time, but he wasn't Khalifa at the time. And also, Muslims in large, they're much richer now. It's not like the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen. It's not the times of Sheikh Abi Talib. It's different times. Now Imam Sadiq is correct, Imam Ali is correct. We have to understand these. We have to grasp the thing that is important. Otherwise, Bibi Zahra alayhi salam had all of Fadak, even though they took it away from her. So mal, having actual treasures and having goods that are of materialistic manner, there's nothing wrong with it. However, the attention, why, the reason, and how we spend it. Another very important thing that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein mentioned, another extremely important one that I wanted to mention today to the brothers and sisters, is that immortal felicity and reaching Allah Azza wa Jal does not come with making people happy. It does not come with listening to the masses. It doesn't come with making people happy and listening to the people. It comes with listening to the word of Allah Azza wa Jal. It's extremely important. If someone that is in charge of a community, in charge of a country, in charge of an empire, whatever it may be, or in charge of his own family even, let's come to the smallest example we can give. If he or she is looking at what these people want, the ones that he is in charge of, and he looks to make them happy, Imam Hussein alayhi salam is saying that this person will not reach salvation. This person will not reach Allah Azza wa Jal. What you should have in your mind is what makes Allah happy, and the hukm of Allah, the order of Allah, the law of Allah to be done. This is what's important. Now hopefully the community that you're in charge of, or the family, or the country, or the government, or whatever it may be, hopefully it is in line with what Allah wants, but sometimes it's not. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawat, he didn't care about making people happy, the masses. He cared to make them happy when it made Allah happy. This is the important thing. Of course, making people happy, Amir al-Mu'mineen would be extremely happy about it. However, is it in the expense of making Allah Azza wa Jal happy or upset? If there's collision, Allah's the one to pick, without a doubt. That's why many people went with Muawiyah. Why? Because they knew that when they would come to Ali alayhi salam and tell him, can you please give us a little bit of that from Baytul Mal, just a little bit, just a few dinar, Amir al-Mu'mineen wouldn't do that. They knew just because they were friends with Ali alayhi salam, they're friends with Imam Ali, and Imam Ali would make them, I don't know, give them a post in the government or give them a certain thing, a certain land. It wouldn't be like that. With Amir al-Mu'mineen, it wouldn't be like that. However, with Muawiyah, it would be like that. They knew this for a fact. The people that even stopped Amir al-Mu'mineen coming straight after the Prophet ﷺ, the reason they stopped it is because they knew how Imam Ali was. There were a group of people, obviously, and these people knew, listen, if Ali comes on the government, none of us will have anything. He will go with adl, with justice. And so many of them didn't want this. They didn't want this. Unfortunately, even the ones, not all of them, because obviously Amir al-Mu'mineen had companions that were very loyal, but so many of the companions that even fought with Amir al-Mu'mineen in the Jang of Siffin, they were part of his army, is because they thought, well, we've seen how Ali fights in the wars, and he'll win, and let's be the winners, at least we'll get something. Still they're thinking about dunya. But the people that knew Imam Ali very well, they knew that Imam Ali is not going to give them anything unless they deserve it. If they deserve it and Allah wills so, of course. With Imam Hassan it was the same. With Imam Hussein alayhi salam it was the same. If he wanted to listen to the people and listen to the masses in Medina, in Sham, the people that were following Yazid, he wouldn't go towards Karbala, he wouldn't go towards Kufa, he wouldn't do Qiyam, he wouldn't stop the Khums from going to Yazid, he wouldn't give so many lectures against Yazid, he wouldn't show his complete and utter detest from Yazid. However, he did, because it was the Amr of Allah. However, when the masses, when the people wanted him to come to Kufa, they sent him a letter. See, this is what the people want in Kufa. It was in line, and it had no problem with the want and the amr and the hukm of Allah Azza wa Jal. Imam Hussein went. He said that's fine. It's in line with what Allah wants. Unfortunately, in today's day and age, it is the same case with different political parties and these, you could say, liberal Democrats or liberals in general, let's just say liberals, where they say the vote of the many take over, what is truth. This is a no-no. In Islam, it's a no-no. We don't accept this. Because we go with what is haqq, we go with what is true. I'll give you an example. This is the main problem with this liberal way of thinking. Main thing. If, for example, we have one person here, let's say his name is Ali. Now all of us in this masjid, we do a vote, and we want to execute this person called Ali with no reason. We have no reason. We did a vote. We want to make a vote. We all vote on it, and we order the execution of this one person called Ali. Okay? And we say, what is the basis of his execution? Is because we all voted on it. We want it, the mass, the people want it. Even though he had done nothing, it's unjust. Here the liberal way of thinking would be, okay, well, let's execute this person. The masses want it. However, is this what Islam says? They say, let's go with what is haqq, with what is just. What is just. If it's just for Amir al-Mu'mineen to be in the hukumat, then he has to be in hukumat. If it's just to have this certain rule in place, it is just, no matter how many people want it. This certain thing, alcohol is haram, it's haram. No matter what you do, no matter if you go up into the skies, jump down, go left, right, whatever you do, it's haram. Allah, we can't do anything about it. It's the word of Allah Azza wa Jal. Now you want to change it, you want to go around, you want to come, you can't. The amr of Allah is more important than anything. And this is what in the Zuhr of Ashura in Karbala, Imam Hussein alayhi salam told his companions, it is important to make Allah happy, not people. If it may be that people become happy, nur ala nur. But if it doesn't, then unfortunately we can't do anything about it. Another important point that we want to mention that Imam Hussein alayhi salam from Medina to Karbala had mentioned is that Allah Azza wa Jal is the backbone, is the place that we lean. Allah. Is the leaning ground, is the leaning place that we need to have. And His power is above all powers. This is important. If we want to have our hearts set on a thing, we have our hearts set on Allah Azza wa Jal. So when Habib ibn Mazar, which was yesterday, was his night, went to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein to ask permission to go to Bani Asad and get more people to fight for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, he had this worry. He was still worried. See, Habib is still worried about the life of his Imam. He's worried about what's about to unfold. Of course, he's not worried about himself. This we can be, from Habib, we know this for a fact. However, he's worried about the family of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, about Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, about keeping his Imam alive. Here, he's saying, let me go get more help. Let me go to Bani Asad that are there at the time in Karbala. Let me get more people to help. Abu Abdullah al-Hussein says one sentence to Habib, and Habib becomes calm instantly. Instantly. Abu Abdullah says, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah al-aliyyil azim. La hawla wa la quwwata illa. This is important. There is no power above the power of Allah. If Allah wants something, that exact thing will happen. This is a show of yaqeen. This is a show of insurance that Abu Abdullah Hussein is giving his companions. See? Again, this doesn't mean that we don't try. It doesn't mean that Abu Abdullah Hussein is saying, oh no, let's just fight with these 72 people even though we know that we're going to be martyred. No, because even if Bani Asad come, they're still going to be martyred. And Abu Abdullah Hussein had already gave the message out in large for people to come to fight for Abu Abdullah Hussein. It's not like as if those people over there didn't know what was going to be unfolded before them. They were there. They knew. They would see the army of Yazid. They saw Abu Abdullah Hussein. Whoever wanted to come would come. But remember the lecture of yesterday, Abu Abdullah wants to come. This is not a normal war. This is not a war of this person winning or this army winning or that army winning. This is a action that wants to be vibrated through time for thousands and thousands of years to come. This vibration comes from the purest of the purest. And each of the companions of Abu Abdullah, if you put your finger on them and you want an explanation of one of them, has a whole life lesson in it. We can pick each of them, honestly, brothers and sisters. We can pick each of them and have a 2-hour lecture on each of them. Whether it be Hur, whether it be John, whether it be Habib ibn Mazahir, whether it even be, in some cases they say tonight's night is the night of Abdullah, whether it even be the little Abdullah that was after Ali Asqar, the youngest of the Shuhada of Karbala. Whether it be Own, whether it be Mohamad. Allahumma. Each of these beautiful companions of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, each of them are a life lesson. This is what Abu Abdullah wanted to leave. This is the vibration. It's shaking us today. Even if you say this story to a person that doesn't know Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, honestly, brothers and sisters, I have done it before. I've seen this happen. Someone that is not Muslim, the first time they're hearing about it, they're completely and utterly at awe with this story of Abu Abdullah. You can see this, you can see even Christian nuns that have heard the story of Bibi Zainab alayhi salam. There's videos of them, you can go see what they say about Bibi Zainab alayhi salam. Who has that amount of patience like Bibi Zainab alayhi salam? That her two beautiful sons have been martyred at such a young age. And she's not upset. Bibi Zainab alayhi salam came out after each shaheed, but for her sons, she didn't come out. She didn't come out. Why? Because she didn't even want to look at Imam Hussein alayhi salam so that she would feel ashamed. So Abu Abdullah Hussein would feel ashamed. Allah. Inshallah, sisters, if you can, please keep the talking to the minimum, keep the noise to the minimum. Honestly, because it will be difficult for the people that want to hear. It will be extremely difficult. If someone wants to speak and they don't want to listen, if they can step out and then inshallah come back in when they're done. However, because we have even some technical difficulties sometimes with the speakers, please keep the talking and the noise to the minimum. Now, here Abu Abdullah al-Hussein is saying La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. It's giving this insurance. And this is what we have to have in our day-to-day lives. If we're stressed for an exam, if we're stressed for an interview, now this doesn't mean that I'm not going to study and I'm going to put the book to a side and if Allah wants, the questions will come that I know. Yeah, that can happen. That can happen. However, if you haven't worked towards it and you've put zero effort into it, then it's not going to happen. That's not how the world works. That's not how the world that Allah Azza wa Jalla has created works. He wants you to work on it and then ask for help and He will help you. That's how it works. Then when you're stressed out, you put your hand on your heart. Ala wa zikrillah tatmain al-qulub. When you say this, you become calm. But not when you haven't worked towards it. I'm just trying to keep the balance. However, in this situation that Habib is stressed, he's worried, with one sentence of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, Habib becomes calm. And he understands we have Allah on our side. This is the most important thing. What do we have to worry about? Whatever Allah wants will happen, will unfold. We don't need to worry about it. We don't need to be stressed. We can use this in our day-to-day lives. Work hard towards our goals. Work hard towards the things that we want in our lives. However, be sure that Allah is behind you. And whatever is khair, whatever is good for you, whatever that is the best thing for you will happen. Because Allah wants the best for you. He's more kind and more loving than your parents. That's a fact. More loving and more kind than any person that you can, anything in the entire world that you can think about. And this is why Ona Muhammad, they were so confident in themselves. This is why Abdullah was so confident in himself. He knew within himself, he knew that I have Allah behind me. The thing that I'm leaning on, the thing I have my back support is Allah. And nothing is more powerful than Allah. That's why they were yearning to give their life for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Even though they knew they were going to be martyred. This is extremely difficult. Let's put ourselves in that position. With this such a young age, they are truly men. Men that in other wars, that where the Prophet would be, when the Prophet would tell some people to go up on the hill and don't come down, they wouldn't listen, whether it was because they were afraid or because they wanted qanimat and so on and so forth. They weren't men, but these young two individuals, they were men at such a young age. May inshallah, owner Muhammad, Abdullah, these full of these individuals of light, truly awliyaullah, take our hands today and do shafa'at for us in the hereafter. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. All together. Assalamu ala al-Husayn wa ala Ali ibn al-Husayn wa ala awlad al-Husayn wa ala Ya Husayn, oh my brother, I have nothing to offer you but these two sons. Bibi Zainab alayhi salam is speaking to her brother, trying to express her gratitude for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, saying, I have nothing else, but I have these two sons. I know they're a small gift for you, Ya Abu Abdullah, but I want them to die in the path of you. I want them to be only for you. Ya Hussein, oh dear brother, accept my two little gifts. The heart of Zainab, a place of sorrow. The pain of Karbala, she carries alone. Oh Hussein, you and I witnessed in Kufa what happened to Ali by the sword in sajda. Oh Hussein, this is Bibi Zainab alayhi salam speaking to her beloved brother. Oh Hussein, you and I witnessed in Medina when Hassan was poisoned, the spitting of blood, the agony. Oh Hussein, you and I have witnessed in Karbala when Aun and Mohamad gave their lives for wilayah. But now the sun is about to set and quiet takes over the land without regret, as your body, Hussein, lies uncovered by broken spear. All alone I shall bury my tears. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Bibi Zainab had seen what had happened to Bibi Fatima Zahra.
بيبي زينب حتسي شهادة علي بن أبي طالب، ثم شهادة أخيها الحسن. And then she had to see the
Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.
بر خاتم انبیا محمد صلوات. Thank you, brothers and sisters, as Sheikh mentioned tonight. Thank you coming for martyrdom of Muhammad own and own sons of Zainab alayhi salam. And she is asking Imam not to reject their offer of going for fight. And this is why she is insisting, saying Agha Hussein Jan, and we repeat that. Agha Hussein Jan, Agha Hussein Jan, Agha Hussein Jan, Agha. Repeat, please. برگرد سمت خیمه ها تنهای تنها، برگرد سمت خیمه ها تنهای تنها، من بی تو خواهم مرد ای آقای تنها، من بی تو خواهم مرد ای آقای تنها، آماده کردم هرچه با شد را برایت، آماده کردم هرچه با شد را برایت، آورده ام اون محمد را برایت، آورده ام اون محمد را برایت. آقا حسین repeat. اینجا حالا که پروا می کنند آقا نگو نه، حالا که پروا می کنند آقا نگو نه، آقا بزرگی کن بیا حالا نگو نه، آقا بزرگی کن بیا حالا نگو نه، راضی نشو با گریه بر گردند خیمه، راضی نشو با گریه بر گردند خیمه، هر آن چه می خواهی بگو، هر آن چه می خواهی بگو، آقا نگو نه، آقا نگو نه، آقا حسین جان، جان من یادشان دادم که پیش تو بگویم، من یادشان دادم که پیش تو بگویم، دایی به جان مادرت زهرا نگو نه، دایی به جان مادرت زهرا نگو نه، حالا رها هستند و میدان رو بروشان، حالا رها هستند و میدان رو بروشان، پای رکاب تو شهادت آرزوشان، پای رکاب تو شهادت آرزوشان، آقا حسین جان repeat. آقا حسین جان، آقا جان آقا حسین جان حسین جان اینطور تربیت شدن آقا که بی تو اینطور تربیت شدن آقا که بی تو پایین نخواهد رفت آبی از گلوشان پایین نخواهند رفت آبی از گلوشان خونی که جاری می شود از جسم آنها خونی که جاری می شود از جسم آنها در بین مقتل می شود آب وضوشان در بین مقتل می شود آب وضوشان آقا حسین آقا حسین آقا حسین جان آقا حسین جان دل کنده ام از دست گل هایم برادر دل کنده ام از دست گل هایم برادر حالا چنان کوهی سر پایم برادر حالا چنان کوهی سر پایم برادر پنهان نگشتم تا که اشکم را نبینی پنهان نگشتم تا که اشکم را نبینی همواره با این اشک بینایم برادر همواره با این اشک بینایم برادر آقا حسین جان آقا حسین جان آقا حسین جان آقا حسین جان صلوات
ये एक पंजाबी नवा है मैं कोशिश करूँगा आपकी हौसला अफजाई के साथ जो है सिलसिला चलेगा जब इमाम ने हल मिन नासिन यंसुरना की सदा लगाई थी तो उस वक्त को याद करके जो है आप इस नोहे को सुने परदेसी हाँ लरासी हाँ कोई मदद कुआं वो हाँ कोई मदद कुआं वो हाँ परदेसी हाँ अल्लारासी हाँ कोई मदद कुआं वो हाँ कोई मदद कुआं वो हाँ परदेसी हाँ अल्लारासी हाँ कोई मदद कुआं हाँ कोई मदद कुआं वो हाँ मेरी माँ ज़हरा दी पाक रिदा मेरी माँ ज़हरा दी पाक रिदा कोई लुट तो बचावो हाँ कोई मदद कुआं वो हाँ परदेसी हाँ अल्लारासी हाँ कोई मदद कुआं वो हाँ कोई मदद कुआं हाँ मेरा मुक गया चानन अखियां दा आया उठदा बहंदा लाश उते ओ मेरा मुक गया चानन अखियां दा आया उठदा बहंदा लाश उते मकतल तो खैमे किंज जावां मकतल तो खैमे किंज जावां मैं कुरा दिखलावो हाँ रेसी हाँ रासी हाँ कोई मदद कुआं वो हाँ कोई मदद कुआं वो हाँ پردیسی ہاں اللہ راسی ہاں کوئی آو ہاں مدد کو آ رت موت مل کے اصغر دی شبیر رو رو کے آنکھیں رت موت مل کے اصغر دی شبیر رو رو کے آنکھیں او جڑا ماں وی کہہ نہیں سکدا اے جڑا ماں وی کہہ نہیں سکدا اے او دا جرم ڈساوو ہاں کوئی مدد کو آوو ہاں پردیسی ہاں اللہ راسی ہاں کوئی مدد کو آوو ہاں کوئی مدد کو آوو میرا غازی ویرن ٹر گیا ہے نہ اصغر ہے نہ قاسم ہے میرا غازی ویرن ٹر گیا ہے نہ اکبر ہے نہ قاسم ہے کلا رہ گیا ہاں پردیس دے وچ کلا رہ گیا ہاں پردیس دے وچ اسوار کراوو ہاں کوئی مدد کو آوو ہاں پردیسی ہاں اللہ راسی ہاں کوئی مدد کو وہ ہاں کوئی مدد کو ہاں ہاتھ بج گئے رسیاں نال میرے لٹی چادر میری ظالم نے ہاتھ بج گئے رسیاں نال میرے لٹی چادر میری ظالم نے بے گور و کفن پہ اویر میرا بے گور و کفن پہ اویر میرا کوئی کفن پواوو ہاں کوئی مدد کو آوو ہاں پردیسی ہاں اللہ راسی ہاں کوئی مدد کو آوو ہاں کوئی مدد کو آوو ہاں یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین
کیست این ابیها یا حسین کیست این ابیها یا حسین کیست این ابیها یا حسین کیست این ابیها یا حسین کیست این حضرت زهرای حسین کیست این حضرت زهرای حسین کیست جز زینب کبرای حسین مادری که دو جگر آورده هرچه دارد به نظر آورده زحمتش را به ثمر آورده آمده جان بدهد پای حسین جان خود بر دو کبوتر داده هر دو را سمت خدا پر داده از نگر زود برادر داده قسم چادر مادر داده دل خوش است او به امضای حسین دل خوش است او به امضای حسین حسین شهید حسین غریب حسین شهید قصد جان دو برادر کردن قصد جان دو برادر کردن نیزه ها را دو برابر کردن ضربه ها را که مکرر کردن بعد هم نیت خنجر کردن به شمار است نفس های حسین به شمار است نفسهای حسین. یک پسر افتاد زمین، این طرف یک پسر افتاد زمین، قبل از آن یک تبر افتاد زمین، آن طرف آن دگر افتاد زمین، دشنه‌ای دور و بر افتاد زمین، غرق خوناب سراپای حسین، غرق خوناب سراپای حسین. حسین شهید، حسین غریب، حسین شهید، حسین غریب. بین میدان چقدر بلوا بود، بین میدان چقدر بلوا بود، دو بدن بود هزاران پا بود، دو گلو بود و دو نی بالا بود، دو گلو بود و دو نی بالا بود، دو سر اما سرشان دعوا بود، دو سر اما سرشان دعوا بود. از یکی زود زره را کندن، از یکی جوشنش از جا کندن، وقت غارت همه یک جا کندن، بود دایی تک و تنها کندن. آه از حالت سیمای حسین، آه از حالت سیمای حسین. حسین شهید، حسین شهید، حسین غریب، حسین غریب. شد غروب و دو پسر را میدید، بر سر نیزه دو سر را میدید، دو سر خورد تبر را میدید، دور خود چند نفر را میدید. مانده اما به تماشای حسین، مانده اما به تماشای حسین. حسین شهید، حسین غریب، حسین شهید، حسین غریب، حسین شهید، حسین غریب.
بسم الله الرحمن. خیر بگذار توی Thank you, brothers and sisters. It is the final dua. Can you please turn to Qibla? Bismillah ar-Rahman. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wa ilayka al-mushtaka. Wa ilayka al-mushtaka. وعليك المعول في الشدة والرخاء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أولي الأمر الذين فرضت علينا طاعتهم وعرفتنا بذلك منزلتهم، ففرج عنا بحقهم فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمح البصر أو هو أقرب. يا محمد يا علي يا علي يا محمد. أحسن. أكفياني فإنكما كافيان، وانصراني فإنكما ناصران. يا مولانا يا صاحب الزمان الغوث 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 أدركني 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 الساعة 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 الأجل 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 يا أرحم الراحمين بحق محمد وآله الطاهرين. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم بحق إمام زماننا بدم المظلوم كربلاء 10 times please recite Ya Allah 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 Ya Rahman Ya Rahim Ya Muqallib al-Qulub ثبت قلوبنا على دينك وعلى محبة الحسين في الدنيا والآخرة. إلهي يا حميد بحق محمد يا عالي بحق علي يا فاطر بحق فاطمة يا محسن بحق الحسن يا قديم الإحسان بحق الحسين. تويد قبلة السلام على أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. A few seconds turn to right. السلام عليك يا إمام القريب السلام عليك يا أيها الإمام الشهيد السلام عليك يا أيها الإمام الرؤوف السلام عليك يا شمس الشموس المدفون بأرض توس السلطان يا علي بن موسى الرضا المرتضى عليك آلاف التحية والثناء ورحمة الله وبركاته. Turn to right to Qibla again. Imam Zaman. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن السلام عليك يا قاطع البرهان السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان عجل الله فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. For the peace of soul of all our beloved ones, parents and relatives of all attendees tonight, and also parents and relatives of all brothers tonight for the food and all the other services, for the peace of soul of all our beloved one, their beloved one, all attendees beloved one this night and the other nights. Please recite Fatiha ma'al ikhlas wa salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا. Thank you.
من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. على محمد وآل محمد. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن عليًا أمير المؤمنين ولي الله. أشهد أن عليًا أمير المؤمنين وأولاده المعصومين حجج الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. حي على خير العمل. حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم ارزقنا خير الدنيا وخير الآخرة، وكفنا شر الدنيا وشر الآخرة. إلى روح النبي محمد وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، وإلى أرواح أماتنا وأموات المؤمنين والمؤمنات ومن لم يذكرهم ذاكر. رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة تسبقها الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على